Hi Tom, good to see you.
Good afternoon, Paul. It's the end of January. I
It
can't
is.
believe another month has flown by.
I know, another month, and it has flown by, even though we're not really allowed to do anything still, are we?
Well, the our home school has reopened for the little ones. That was a bit of a surprise, and yeah, well, certainly my wife is pulling her hair out, and I try to do what little I can, but yeah, uh, I mean, just what an awful month.
Yeah,
Terrible.
yeah,
Homeschool, lockdown.
yeah.
And apparently, well, I wouldn't say no end in sight, but certainly the numbers haven't been, the lockdown hasn't been seemed to have been effective as quickly as previous
Yeah,
lockdowns.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. It was starting from such a high peak, wasn't it? So
yeah.
it had a long way to to fall from that kind of summit. And of course, a bit closer to home, it stopped your visit to New Covent Garden, didn't it?
For sure. Yeah, what a shame. Uh, yeah, that would have been lovely to get out and do some filming on site at somewhere like Covent Garden Market.
Mm,
Even though, I mean, it's the flower market is open to the public,
mm.
but the produce market is private and is still running more or less full strength, albeit the volumes are massively down because, of course,
Yeah,
their main customers are restaurants
yeah,
and catering, hospitality, all that sort of side of life in London has ground to a halt. So
yeah,
they're having a very, very difficult time of things.
yeah,
Traders are. So let's hope it all. I mean, I do. I think it's going to spring back pretty hard,
yeah.
and hopefully we'll have a fantastic summer, and the Japanese Olympics will be a party, and we can all celebrate a few gold medals, and it'll be wonderful. But I'm
That's what
nervous.
we're all looking forward to, definitely. So,
Uh,
unlike our usual updates, we're not going to be, talking too much about, new filming, although that will happen as the lockdown restrictions ease. But in a way, it's been interesting because, we passed the milestone of 100 uploads on YouTube, and it's kind of, and that sort of just happened. We were posting a video, and counted up. Hadn't done that for a while, and realized we were posting our 100th video, which was the
hmm,
interview with Vivian. And it kind of made both of us sort of reflect on well, how far we've come, but also what those videos and interviews and 100 people talking about, answering the three golden questions, and what that really amounts to.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, 100's taken, quite a lot of graft, and we've barely put a toe in the water yet.
Yeah, yeah,
I think the channel's got scope for thousands.
yeah, yeah,
And certainly if we, fulfill our commitment to the schools
yeah,
and try and get a decent number of films for every school in the country, we could be into tens of thousands quite easily.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I'm really looking forward to that. It's a long journey. We're not going to do it on our own.
No,
Uh, you know, we've talked about this before. People on work is, perhaps a movement rather more than a business or a company,
yeah,
or certainly it certainly needs to be greater than those that, like me and you and Callum, and
mm,
those that are sort of directly involved at this stage. We need the support of a community of people that see careers as something that I think you use this phrase, talking about the we in careers rather
yeah,
than just me,
yeah,
realizing that actually helping youngsters get a leg up, or
yeah.
helping people pivot where necessary, that all of this stuff is a discussion that we all benefit from sharing in.
Definitely, definitely. And we've been talking about it. It really, a movement is a really interesting way to think of it, because if we in the future have people at first all over the UK interviewing people with our three golden questions, they're gaining something from the interviews themselves. But then when those interviews go up on the channel, that's being shared. So that brings that turns it from a me thing into a we thing, or although it's already a we thing if you're asking someone else and getting that kind of insight into their relationship with work and their experience. And then if you multiply that and think of lots of people doing it, then it's a people powered movement.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And the and again, we've been thinking again about why we started this, and sort of democratizing work and career information was something we spoke a lot about at the start, and this is how you can really see it starting to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it's interesting to see some of the patterns emerge. And I know, well, we'd spoken with Patsy a day or two ago, who was really interested in identifying a few of the patterns and trends, and whether our content holds data within it that is valuable in its own right.
Yeah, definitely. So Patsy, we were talking to about our social media, which we definitely know needs a bit of work, but we're aware of that, and that's something we're going to be building a proper conversation around in time. But one of the questions, and Patsy is someone we know, and she's she works in social media marketing and management, and she said to us, what are we learning? What's some of the data and what's some of the trends? So, and I know you know this, Tom, but if I read you, we had a bit of a huddle about that, and we picked up three things, and they're only very short. I'll read them to you because that's probably better than me trying to remember them. So what kind of trends and data have we seen? And this is from the 100 or so people we've now got answering our questions on the channel. And so the first one we picked out, and this is when people are answering our first question, what do you like about your work? So a lot of people have said that they like or enjoy the variety of their work. And a particular phrase, no 2 days are the same, crops up again and again in people's answers. And what was interesting to us is that answer also comes up regardless of the work that they're doing or the industry they work in, and even in jobs that the public perception of or conventional wisdom would say are boring. And here are these people saying that there's a lot of variety, no 2 days are the same, and that's something they really enjoy. So we're going to be watching that one very closely, and we think we can really change people's minds about what a job is like, or what that work is like, or what it's like to work in a particular industry, and really kind of get rid of those stereotypes that some industries have.
I've had the same experience talking to people that on the out, from an untrained, from someone who doesn't appreciate detail, they say, oh yeah, I work at the, I don't know, baked bean factory. And you think, well, how? And they say, no 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
Surely you put the beans in the tin and the label and ship them out. No. All sorts can happen,
Yeah.
and I don't know. And I think actually perhaps it's more around attitude.
Yeah.
And people enjoy the work, and the mundane stuff comes and goes, and what they like to busy themselves with are those little details in a business. They like to get stuck into fixing X, Y, and Z, or changing stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
solving
those
a problem. Yeah.
That, they are positive, engaged employees that get leaned on by their organisations.
Yeah.
And they're self-selecting.
Yes.
We've talked about this before. The people that we tend to interview tend to be very positive about work.
Yeah.
And those people are the type of people that get lent on by organisations, and they say, look, I know you're busy canning your beans, but do you mind fixing the forklift or changing the wheel on the lorry, or whatever else gets dragged into their work schedule.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be really interesting to watch that one closely. And because if you haven't, so using your example, if I've never worked in a baked bean factory, I might have a preconceived idea about what that's like. but then I watch videos of 10 people who work in different roles in that organization, and I think there's every chance that whatever I was thinking before is going to be fundamentally changed.
Absolutely.
And I think what we're finding is that that's happening pretty much with every industry, certainly that we're that we're interviewing people from. The reality of doing the job and the reasons why different people doing the work enjoy it and like it are can just be so different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the second trend, and this was when people are answering our second question, which is how did you start out? So a good number of interviewees said that they didn't know what they wanted to do when they first were thinking about work. And some people even say, quite a few interviewees actually, they say that they never had a career plan. Now, this is also quite interesting because some of the people who said this are doing really, really highly specialized roles now. And if you looked at their job title, you would say, well, they must have wanted to be a professor of biomimetic material design, which is one of our interviewees. She must have wanted to be that from the very beginning. But that was Veronica, and she said she didn't know what she wanted to be at the start. And so what people often talk about, who give that answer, often talk about in place of a career plan is they follow something they're interested in. And so some people followed an interest in subjects they were taught at school. So maths and sciences, we've got some people who said they followed their interest in that, or they were good at that. So they wanted to learn more about it. Other people followed, I don't know, disciplines or questions. So we've got a few engineers on the channel, and they always say something along the lines of, I was always interested in how stuff worked, or taking things apart and putting them back together. That was an interest they followed. And then other people, they were a bit more exploratory, and they just followed their curiosity from one thing to another, and found themselves then working in roles as they learned more about what they liked and moved on. They find themselves in roles that they really enjoy doing today.
Yeah. Well, I very much hope that people in work can help people with that discovery, and
Yes.
we can, make the journey a bit quicker, a bit less painful, and open people's eyes to perhaps more options than they thought of previously.
Definitely, and help people to know that if you don't know what you want to be at 16 or 18 or even later in life, that's okay.
Yeah.
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 So
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. Professional football is definitely out the window.
Yeah, that ship has sailed for me as well, I think, and the fact that I wasn't very good at football as well. So the third and last sort of trend that we identified when we were asked about it, and this was in the answer to our third question, which is, what would you say to someone starting out today? Now, quite a few people have said, just try things. So to someone starting out today, I would say just try something, get experience, in whatever you can, even if it's something you're not sure you want to do, try it. And also another thing that a lot of people have said is just talk to people, ask them. And we're great supporters of this. Ask people what it's like to do that work. Ask them our 3 golden questions. And the interesting thing, as we were thinking about that some more, this answer I think might even be my favorite question, because the person answering it immediately, you can also see them. Have you seen Ratatouille, the movie?
Yeah.
At the end, when, oh, spoiler alert, when the he's transported back to being a child, when he puts the fork with the food on it in his mouth. I'm not going to say what the dish is and who he is, but he's transported back to being a kid. And it's almost like when people get asked that question, they're transported back to when they were starting out. So you get a really honest answer and a really kind of personal answer, and
the most varied, like you said, we get a lot of variety and trying things, but the answers to the third question about what would you say to someone starting out are more variable.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah, and I think that the answers are also most like the answers you get from somebody if you're lucky enough to have somebody in your family or your friends or social network who are doing something, and you ask them that question, that they really feel like they're friendly answers. They're answers that yeah, like the sort of answers you get from someone in your family, which is
Yeah,
what which is exactly why we're doing this.
yeah. I mean, what's nice is it gives people an excuse to be very sort of honest or they don't have to speak. When you're asking someone how they started out, if people can feel defensive about that and say, well,
Yes.
actually, I
Yeah.
regret this X, Y, or Z,
Yeah.
and I made a mistake here or there. People might not feel comfortable admitting that, particularly on camera.
Yeah.
Whereas with the third question about what would you say, you can there's a difference in time and space and
Yeah.
environment. They say, well, I had to do it my way because of that reason, but
Yeah.
now things have
Yeah.
changed. That's
Yeah.
easier, that's more accessible, that part of the industry's grown. I would go in this direction.
Yeah. I completely
uh,
agree. And also they've learned a lot since then, and all everything that they've learned in the years that they've been doing what they're doing, or the years that they've come through since then, it's like they're kind of sharing that kind of those lessons, and they're saying, this may be what I did when I was starting out, but if I was doing it now, I would do this slightly differently. I would kind of, using the benefit of their knowledge or lessons that they've learned or experienced. They're really sharing something that that they think is gonna make a difference.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. I think this area of spotting trends and
Yeah,
patterns is something that in time we'll be able to do much more of, particularly as I
definitely.
talked earlier. If we've got people that do very similar jobs, and we can contrast the experience between, I don't know, north and south, or
Yeah,
men versus women, or
yeah,
city versus rural,
yeah,
whatever the situation is. I think there'll be. I think we're going to unearth all sorts of interesting
yeah,
bits of information
yeah,
that hopefully help inform people's decision making
yeah,
going forward.
definitely, definitely.
I think as well. So just to sort of go back to what January's meant for me, um, it's been the you know the sort of return back to this hard lockdown environment has given me a little bit of time to reflect on where we've come since
Mm.
our birthday on May the 26th when the company was formed. Like you say, 100 films
Yeah.
is really significant. And also we've had customers that have bought service from us.
Yes.
We've had people that have said they appreciate the channel's nothing at the moment, atomically small,
Yeah.
but they also recognise in the vision, the mission,
Yeah.
uh, and the enthusiasm that you and I and Callum and everyone else involved are bringing to the channel,
Yeah.
and they're willing to take a punt. They're happy to get in on the ground floor and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I guess in startup speak they'd call it the minimum viable product.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're there. We're there. We've got it off the ground.
Yeah.
And the next few months, years perhaps, are we need to work really hard to breathe a bit of life
Yeah.
into the channel, and make sure we partner up with as many schools and organizations and companies as possible to make sure that there are more and more people involved in. I mean, not to say that people and work's not going to change, and there are things that we can, everything that we can improve on. But I think we've got, we've really, and these sessions are actually quite, good fun.
Yeah.
We've really got our mission set. I know what we're doing,
Yeah.
and that's really exciting.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of hard work ahead,
Yes.
in bringing it to life, but we know what we're doing.
And well, and in we're also learning as well. And one area, you know, I think I'm I certainly would say I don't know what I'm doing is being a YouTube channel owner or manager or presenter. And so you and I were talking because, you know, I love watching YouTube, watch lots of different things on YouTube, and we were talking about you know, people who really know what they're doing. They're always telling people to like and subscribe, aren't they?
Yes,
So
please do. For anyone watching, smash that like button.
yeah. so so we're learning as well, and yeah, and definitely the plan is to get more au fait, better, professional on YouTube, and really start engaging with people, you know, our audience on YouTube, and yeah, and like you say, atomically small at the moment, but we think we've really got the potential to grow the channel, grow our subscribers, grow the people that we're really properly interacting with, and doing a great service for them, you know, and providing content that's, you know, interesting, but is also really going to make a difference to people's careers.